Welcome back to the Teacher's AI Cafe. I'm Kane, a teacher and a parent who wants AI to give us back our time. I share practical classroom-tested AI strategies to cut down your workload, improve your feedback and reduce stress so you can get your evenings back and be more present with your friends and family. No jargon, just actionable steps. Grab your mug. Now let's get going. Hey, welcome back to today's podcast. Today, as I mentioned in the last episode, I'm going to get other teachers in to talk about their AI journey. And I'm very happy to welcome Kayla. Kayla is an old colleague of mine. She's a science teacher, so you're going to get hopefully science examples of AI instead of my history-focused ones. I'd like to welcome Kayla. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Kane. So yeah, I've been a science teacher since 2014. I've taught year 7 through to year 12. I specialise in human bioinsight for upper school. And in Australia, the kids, or specifically Perth, they're about 12 years old until 18.
How long have you been teaching?
Do some quick maths. Did that make that 11 years? Or
11
close to 12 years by the end of this year.
Yeah, so fairly experienced teachers now. And have you always taught science or you taught other areas as well?
Believe it or not, I actually taught HAS in my first year, not in my background knowledge whatsoever.
I do remember that.
Obviously, you're most and foremost a teacher, so they can just plonk you in anyway. But I did actually enjoy teaching it. And it's ironic because history is probably my weakest point. But for the Year 8 curriculum, we were teaching about the Black Plague, and I was just like, yeah, I can talk about this.
Good one for
disease.
Science teachers. Most definitely. So you've been around a little while, which is fantastic. I guess we're here talking about AI. How would you describe your relationship with technology in the classroom before AI came onto the radar? So are you a techie person or are you a traditional sort of type teacher in terms of the resources you use?
I've always been a tech lover. I always watch the Apple events. And yeah, I've always attended PDs and gone, hey, this is some cool new tech. Let me try it out with my class. I've always been willing. Things like coding spheros. I even did the 360 YouTube of a plant video, like a VR headset. And back then we only had one VR headset for the whole school and it was hooked up to all these different wires. I did coding using Swift Playgrounds.
Yes,
the PD that you ran. Yeah, so I've been more than happy to use tech in the classroom in general. I think I was one of the first people to use a PopStick app, at least in my office. I actually can't believe that teachers are actually still using actual physical pop sticks and they're actually writing their names on it.
As opposed to a tool that can do it automatically for you once you get them on there.
And I've always been into sustainability, and the idea of writing everyone's name on there and then having to chuck it out at the end of the year gave me such an ick that I was just like, no, I need to find something reusable. And that's when I found the app, and I've been using that well before AI.
Yeah. I guess you say you're a bit of an early adopter, or are you a wait and see type of teacher?
Yes, I'm definitely an early adopter with a lot of things. Like I'm the first person in my family, my friend group, even at my work, to have a car that even has EV capabilities. So I already had decided that if I'm going to buy a brand new car, it has to at least be a plug-in hybrid. But yeah, in terms of classroom tech, if it's something new, I'm willing to try it out. I felt like we really got that opportunity during COVID to start trying out new technology because we had the prospect of doing remote teaching. Obviously, it never actually eventuated that much. But in terms of making YouTube videos...
I do remember those, and you still use those now. They're probably the best ones in the school, I think, at the time that we made back in, what, was it 2020 now?
Yeah, it was 2020. Yeah, I still use them today. They're actually awesome because I just showed the video to the students and it means that they know what they need to do for the experiment, that they're basically videos for science experiments, and then they can go off on their merry way. During COVID times, I started using Microsoft Teams.
Yes.
Because I wanted to move away from students individually emailing me and then me answering the same question over and over again. So I was definitely one of the first teachers that I knew of to actually start those group chats. And students were basically be able to ask some questions and everyone was going to benefit from the answers, even the shy students that didn't want to email me.
The technology is great for those shy students. I guess we bring to the topic of AI. What prompted you to start exploring and thinking of AI? I guess for your personal development or just playing around with it, but also in your teaching, why did you do it? Were you just wanted to lighten your workload? You're burnt out, as many teachers are nowadays. Just curious? Or you just thought, oh, this is interesting. I want to see what it can actually do for me.
It was definitely curiosity. My parent background is in policing, and they've always made me hyper aware of things like scams. And I honestly thought that OpenAI might have been a scam. To the point that I did the hide my email function just in case. But now it's just become a necessity because I'm a full-time worker and full-time mum to 2 kids that are still in nappies. So I am just in this super busy point of my life. And yeah, especially since the latest release of ChatGPT, I'm finding it's reducing my workload significantly, where I actually get that time back with my family, but I also am actually being a really good teacher as well. I'm being the teacher that I actually want to be. So yeah, I'm getting the best of both worlds.
So obviously, do you pay for ChatGPT? Is that your platform, or do you use one of the other ones?
No, I pay for it. For it. I feel like if you want to get all the features out of it and not having to wait a certain time to be able to post more, you definitely want to pay for it, especially if you want to play around with things like images.
Yeah. And do you and your colleagues talk about AI in the office when you're there?
I actually feel like it's a really taboo topic still. Yeah. It's almost like it should be shamed upon.
I find that's the case. I think while we're almost 2 and a bit years into it, it's still very much only, I guess, early adopters that are actually picking it up. Even though I know a lot of educators are encouraging other people to do it, I feel having those conversations, because there's no formal structure, there's no PD, there's no organised way of teaching teachers. It's really ad hoc, depending on who the teachers are in the schools.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you got more thoughts about your colleagues? Did you face any hesitations or barriers, or have other teachers spoken to you about that? And has this changed over time since it's been released, from the early days where only you were using in the office? Has other teachers taken it on, or is something that you're really by yourself at the moment?
There's definitely other teachers using it. I'm not sure that they're using it to its greatest, fullest advantage. Like they're probably doing prompts as single sentences.
Yep.
Where for me, I've realized that AI is similar to coding. You've got to work on your prompt.
Yes. I think the base of coding, it also AI prompting is a high level literacy as well. It's more people in the humanities tend to initially have done better prompts because they can better explain or articulate what they want. I guess, and talking about that is often teachers, even students themselves, have problems with prompts. Do you see that an issue yourself, the ability to write a prompt and what you've learnt in your journey with AI?
I feel like it requires a lot of problem solving, and you need to save your prompt, and you need to be continually improving your prompt and working on it. And it shouldn't really be a single sentence. It should be like almost multiple paragraphs in teaching in terms of making a lesson plan that's actually going to fit for you. I do think it also requires some critical thinking, because every now and then the AI will spit out some information that might potentially be incorrect. And so you need that foundational knowledge of your subject area. It's not as simple as plug and play and you're going to be able to get it every single time. It does require that critical thinking as well.
I agree that. What I've always emphasised is based on your experience and knowledge. Without good experience and knowledge, you can't write a good prompt to ask what you actually need out of the prompt, and then the ability to assess that when you actually get your output. If you're just randomly putting information in, it's the old adage in computing, you junk in, junk out. So unless you can articulate from experience, and this is where I try to emphasise to teachers that your experience is so important to actually using AI effectively in the context of actual teaching.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, think about it this way. Like when I used to make, explicit teaching wasn't really a thing. I had never heard of that until I think it was 2020. So I'd been teaching for a fair while. And then these explicit style PowerPoints came out and I was just like, yeah, cool. I want to do this. Seems engaging for the students. And when I used to make those PowerPoints, it would take me a solid 5 hours. And they just weren't as good as what I can output now in half an hour.
Yes.
And it's engaging. Like the students, I'm limiting my behavior issues because the PowerPoints, the content that I'm actually making is that engaging for the students. Like I've got check for understanding questions. I've got extension what if questions. And that brings about different conversation that comes out of that. And all of that extra work that I would have done to make those lessons effective, I'm now doing in half an hour. So this goes back to that balance, that work-life balance, where I can still be a mum and a really good teacher, where I just didn't have that time. I wouldn't have the time to do.
That's my argument with is AI can make those goals, but like it's guided by your experience and knowledge. Without your experience, you can assess these PowerPoints, and if it doesn't work, you're still doing it manually, using your own experience to go in there. Do you actually have a prompt bank? Do you save your prompts?
Yes.
How do you do that?
I'm sure there'd be a better way, but I'm just currently using notes. And then and it happens over time, like I'm continually improving and going, hey, I need to add this. I need to add. Recently, I've changed my daily review questions to multiple choice so that I can do choral response.
Yep.
So we can actually get through them quickly as a class. One thing that I haven't quite figured out yet, and I'm hoping, Kane, that you can tell me how to get around this to add to my prompt.
Yeah.
But when I do multiple choice questions, the answer always seems to be either B or C.
Yes, you do.
What do I add? Because I'm not getting that out just
What you
yet.
need to do is actually explicitly tell it to randomize the actual correct answer. Yes, the early days when I was doing that, it would always be C. That they're all the same letter answer. I had to go back and manually change it myself. Yeah, you literally go tell it to jumble up or randomize the order of the answers that are actually coming through. I haven't done multiple choice in a long time because I haven't had a need in what I'm actually doing. But yes, it's randomizing. You got to explicitly tell it to randomize the answers and actually tell it you're always putting C and B as the answers. I need you to spread the answers across all of them and a distribution over, say, 10 questions. Only 3 of them can be the same letter, for example.
Okay, cool.
But then, I guess, as I say, always put C if you're not sure when you're doing multiple choice questions on that. I guess in terms of your couple of schools you've been at, and I guess most of it has the school admin actually supported teachers to use AI in their practice? I know your current school I know they've talked about their teachers using AI, your admin. I know it's been promoted, but in reality, is there any formal training or PD being provided by schools, or is it more of a case that schools are saying, yes, you're allowed to go and use this?
I feel like it's almost the latter in terms of that it's definitely not being promoted. I think the department maybe offered a year free with Perplexity, something that I'm not using, but I know that one person in my office has said, yeah, I've signed up for that and I'll definitely be paying for that in the future. There's definitely no PD. And going back to, I definitely think it's taboo and almost frowned upon. Like I shouldn't be showing people in the office that I'm actually using it.
Yeah.
Because I actually thought that maybe AI would level the playing field, but now I actually think it's going to widen the gap between teachers, because I guess it's like a lot of technology. You get people that will be anti it. You just look at all the pages that I follow in terms of EV users and how many anti-EV people there are. And now I'm about to get a house battery and you get the exact same. You're going to get the people that are really anti it. I'll give you a recent example. I run a closed Facebook group for psych teachers. Literally last week, someone posted up it was a repost of a parent study that wasn't referenced by any stretch of imagination. And there was an image of 2 brains. Yeah. And the first one was non-ChatGPT users. Yes. And the brain was all lit up. And it was ChatGPT users and the brain's not all lit up. And saying basically that people that are using chat and people that are using AI aren't using their brain. And you just had to click on the page that post belonged to realise that they post a lot of clickbait BS, to realise that this wasn't a legitimate study. And I've got 7 teachers that have liked this post. And I just could not help myself. I had to post and be like, yeah, look, I'm sure people said that about Google, going from books to Google, library books to Google. And hey, I do actually problem solve when it comes to my prompts, and I am using my critical thinking when it isn't presenting correct information. That's not to say that I'm not using my brain. And it's funny in terms of if you want to create resources or a worksheet or something like that, and then you want to sell it on TPT, people are actually buying this, but they could have actually created that themselves.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell them that.
Yeah.
Going, and I think that's important because I read some articles recently as well, and I've done a podcast, I've mentioned this, cognitive offloading is the term they're talking about. But humans have always done that when we get tools. If you go back to engineers before the computers and things, they use slide rules. That's cognitive offloading. You're taking things that aren't as important to use tools to do things for you faster and more efficiently. But at the core of it, you've still got your knowledge and experience to make judgments on what those tools are actually doing for you. In terms of students, cognitive load, I tell this to students, we only have obviously a very small, finite short-term memory. we use tools like AI on that to do it for us. Whenever I start a school year, I always talk about brain plasticity to my students because I want to explain to them that they can grow their brain and improve. And I always use the example, the study done in London taxi drivers, where they've got the ones that use the GPS and they've got the ones that drive the black taxis that have to memorize the Bible and be able to get anywhere within inner London on memory. And they got to recite it part of their test. And obviously the loading, when they analyze their brains, the people who use the GPS have trimmed that part of their brain, whereas that part of their brain is larger or more active for the black taxis because they use it all the time, they develop it. So in terms of cognitive offloading, I think that we use these tools and some part of our brain, we won't use it as much because we're offloading those tools. But at the same time, we'll develop other parts of our brain in terms of our critical thinking and analysing, as you've said, the information is actually coming back for us, which is actually more important. And what the long-term effect of that, who knows? But like I said, it's like the calculator. When I was in high school, I could multiply in my brain 4 digits by 4 digits like that. I can't do that now because I don't use that part of my brain. The calculator actually does it for me or whatever tool I'm using. But at the same time, my ability to do maths is not degraded. I can actually do far more maths now that I've got, say, better tools to actually do that and formulas I can then use through a calculator. I don't know where it will go, but I guess about students, how many are actually using AI? I think in the public school, it's hidden a lot more. In the private school, and I think this will come back to the widening divide, that private schools here in UA are allowed to use AI with their students freely within their classrooms. There's no restrictions, depending on the school policies. If you're in the public system, and usually public schools are lower socioeconomic, they're not getting access to those tools or being taught how to actually use them in the classroom. And then obviously taking those into the workplace. So yes, we are widening the digital divide and experience between two different groups in our society that should have the same advantages and skills, not based on how much money they've got and where they go to school. So yes, but that's a debate for another one, another time. I guess in terms of your AI workflow, I don't want to go through the whole lot. I guess you've already mentioned how production of your explicit learning resources. What other areas like planning, marking, feedback, or differentiation have you used AI that's been positive for you? And you can also obviously note some negatives that sort of come out of that as well.
I've definitely used it for differentiation of independent practice sort of questions, even things like guided support and obviously the matching worksheets that kind of go with the lessons that I've created as well.
Okay.
I haven't attempted any sort of marking. I'm not sure what that would look like.
Have you tried any just general feedback, like putting in and get it?
We just have like simple right or wrong answers. I feel like we don't have essays or anything like that. And I'm not sure what would be the legalities around putting up student work.
Yes, yeah, that's true. I guess they're anonymised, but I just know, obviously, I've mentioned this before. I teach my daughter, she's doing history. She'll get a history essay and upload it, obviously, against the question and the marking rubric to get feedback of what she's actually missed prior to actually doing the in-class assessment on that topic. So looking for gaps and things that she can work on to improve. Remember that app we had years ago?
ZipGrade.
ZipGrade?
Yeah.
Where you could take a photo of it, it would mark it for
Yeah.
you. Yep. So that's the same sort of tool. I imagine there's probably an AI version of that nowadays. So if
Yeah.
it's a wrong or right answer, it's much you could mark very quickly with your work.
I guess the main thing is for me is that the fact that it's cut down on the amount of time that I used to spend planning and creating lessons so significantly. And the fact that the stuff that it's spitting out, like I'm not in class presenting information and going, oh, that's wrong, or I wouldn't have worded that way. It's actually usable straight off the bat. And my students are engaged because of it. So it's reducing the behaviour management as well. It's got that flow-on effect.
If you want to one for a new teacher in AI, what's one strategy or tool, if you've got a favourite tool outside AI, a ChatGPT, what would you say this is where they should start, what they could actually use it for? One that you found really useful earlier on.
Definitely use the project feature.
Okay, you want to expand on that? My last episode was on projects. But as I said, I was talking to a colleague who's really good at it. He didn't even realise how projects worked.
Oh, okay.
And we sat down, we were having coffee and we were going through it and I was showing him, he's going, oh, wow, this is amazing. And he was pointing out the department's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to design these custom to write curriculum programs, and where you can just design in projects very quickly with your documents. But that's in my last episode. But how have you used projects?
The idea, I've actually put all lower school together. I know that some people might divvy out lower school into separate projects, but I've actually put them all together because I know that their syllabus is going to be changing for next year. But it's the fact that you can upload all your syllabus and all your programs, and in your prompt, you can say, that it is attached to this project. Refer to this.
Yes.
So you don't have to be uploading it every single time. And it does make it a lot easier to, I guess it's the same idea as putting things into folders.
Yeah.
So that's easy to find because all of a sudden you can have so many chats open.
I have so many before projects came along.
And you have to sit there and sift through that and organise the things. So it's the same way that you would organise your teaching resources on your laptop. You should be organising it through ChatGPT as well.
It is much neater. I know the early days I had hundreds of individual chats because you do one thing, one prompt before you learnt the idea of using the same prompt or the same chat over and over again. And you got lots and lots, and then you're trying to find it. This was before the search feature, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And the personalization feature as well. Like, I don't have a problem with US spelling anymore. But I used to, this time last year, I was when I would be sifting through the information, I would have to sit there and start changing all the Z's to S's. I don't have that problem anymore because I've done the personalization.
Yes, I use Australian English.
Yeah. So I've definitely found that helpful. And obviously it's been said before, but I think it's worth paying for an account, especially if you want to be downloading images. And I think I tried to download a couple of images before I started paying, and I was literally waiting for hours.
Yeah, I found that yesterday because when I was doing my last podcast, I thought I've got a free version as well. I'll do it in the project. And I found that I set up projects. So I thought I'd do a geography example. I could only upload 3 files per 24 hours on the free version. Whereas I dropped 21 files in one project on my paid version straight away. And that makes a massive difference. Same with my daughter, she uses Notebook LM to create the audio overview, but she found out she can only do 4 a day on the free version, where you get unlimited files. So if you're using a lot, that I think it's about $35 Australian with the exchange rate at the moment. There's maybe an hour paid work. You save so much time over a month.
Yeah.
So projects definitely get into it. I actually ran out of version 5 prompts I could do. Actually did a few activities, 4 different chats, and it actually said I've hit my limit for the day.
What, in the paid version?
No, in the free version.
Oh, okay. I was like...
In the free version. I thought I'd do it all in the free version. And then I realised, I can't do it. Which I covered everything I needed to do, which was good. But then I thought, if I was a teacher, I think it's really annoying.
So someone in my office was saying that he explicitly models to his students when he doesn't know something, he'll get it up on the TV screen and he'll type in the question into Google and showing that he uses keywords and everything like that, old school methods. And he explicitly shows them how he skips the AI information.
Yes.
And starts looking at everything else. And I was just like, wouldn't it be better to teach students how to critically think about the information that's there, not just ignore it? And I think that there's a true problem with the fact that in terms of widening the gap, that there will be these naysayers that say, let's just not use it at all. And we know like the Australian government like to ban things and social media, ban mobile phones and things like that. And so I'm a little bit concerned that you said it previously with private schools being able to use it.
And teaching their students how to use it.
And I think that could be a serious problem with AI adoption in the classroom.
I think, I agree with you coming into that I think our jobs as teachers is obviously we all learn to use AI ourselves, and not necessarily with practice, but how it works and how it now becomes a part of people's careers and different jobs, and then teach students how to actually use those to get the best out of it. And talking the documentation, I said, look, your job may not be replaced by AI, but if you can't use AI in your job, you may lose your job. And that's where the differences come in. So if we don't teach our students to use this, what are they going to do when they get into the workplace? These employers are going to assume you're a digital native. I hate that term. That you're just going to pick it up and run with it in an organisation. And if they don't have the literacy levels and they understand critical thinking, how they're going to adapt to this new workplace.
Actually came up in the latest Insight episode about digital literacy or even AI literacy and why are we expecting the individual to learn? Like, why is this not in the syllabus? Why is this not being explicitly taught? Because that's what the future will look like. And I feel like we're just slapping it back on the individual.
We are, unfortunately, in our context, our government, we are not allowed to do that yet in the public system. As every time I see the education minister, I'd always ask him, he says, it's not coming yet. And part of it is the legal liability that actually comes out of it. And that's what they're afraid of. So it is there and governments are trying. But like I said, it's that legal liability until they develop a system to do that. It is up to individuals, I'm afraid. And I do hear, I know Edith Cowan University introduce AI as part of their undergrad programs now. They actually teach their
In
students how.
education?
It's across the board. I think
Okay.
it's in good. So it's across the board when I went out there, and they're showing them how to use AI responsibly and effectively and within undergrad sort of education, because they know students are going to use it. So they're saying, we want you to use it this way. I don't know the actual details, but I know when they've spoken about it, they're on board with it. And I find what's missing from us is that centralized sort of training, whether it's good or not, where all schools will roll out as part of a PD day. So this is running AI. When I run workshops, they're really popular. They're oversubscribed. So when I run those, people want to learn how to use it, but they're just not getting that advice. And that's why I started this podcast. We both think AI should be a core training for teachers coming through. I think all technology I remember when I graduated, and that wasn't that long ago, back in when I did my postgrad 2011 and 12. I'd come out and I had fellow teachers going out there, and they were like gods because I would come out and show teachers how to use PowerPoint and things like that. And they were amazing. And this was, I guess, my IT background. So what do you mean use? But teachers, a lot of teachers tend to be very slow at picking up technology. And unless they're really forced into it, they don't do it. But I find if you show teachers in the office, so if you're sitting in the office, you show them, you find they tend to pick it up. They think that's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely felt that more in my previous school. I guess the biggest problem that I'm facing in my current school is that somebody that is above me is definitely on the anti-AI train. So that's probably adding to the more taboo feeling of actually using it, and just the idea seem to not be using my brain, and my kids seem to not be learning and things like that, which is definitely not the case, and results are proof. But I would love that. I would love the opportunity to run a PD and say, hey, check out my prompt. Yeah. Look what I'm doing. Look what I'm creating. And this can be you too.
It can be really simple because I'm one of the Facebook groups, AI for Teachers. A teacher put a question up, how do I do this? And essentially it was the old grid revision task sheet. And he had the information on a PDF, but he wanted to turn it into a grid with one question and a grid for students to fill out. And I jumped online and I did a query. It took me 5 minutes. I wrote, uploaded it and said, do you try this? They come back and said, that's amazing. But it's, you just step your way through the problem once you've done it. But this is a teacher who really wanted to learn, but had no advice and had to hop online to a Facebook group and ask, this is what I want to do. How do I do it? Whereas we should have those structures and training within our schools and our systems for people to do that. But I don't know if we're actually going to get there anytime soon, unfortunately.
And the problem is with technology is it advances so fast, and unfortunately things like even law takes a long time to catch up. I think it was when I was doing my forensics masters that I think emails just got legitimized as a form of communication in the law. And I was like, what? I'm like, how far behind are we? Like, even thinking about at my previous school, they would invest in hardware like Spheros.
Yes.
And now my husband actually bought me my own Sphero to play with. And now I can't even hook that up to my phone or whatever. I can't hook it up. The problem is, schools investing in hardware and then the software change. Obviously, when we're talking about AI, we are referring to software here, not really hardware. But I think that's what scares schools, because they don't want to invest money into it. And then
they've done it before, the latest craze, whatever. A previous school invested a lot in VR, and it turned not to be very effective. But at the time, it was, this is really cool and interesting. But in terms of applying it in the classroom, I know you did. I saw you do it, but unless you had a very small class, it was impractical of a class of 32 to run 5 VR sets in that particular, the way that technology was designed at the time. The idea was fantastic, but for that investment, what do you actually get out of it? Coming to the end of the episode, and it's been really good fun. Where do you hope AI will go next, or something you actually want to try with it? Do you have some goals and things you'd like to learn about in the future, or is there something you wish it would actually do for you as a teacher?
Ultimately, I would love for it, I'm sure it would be possible, but I would love for it to literally so I've got this pro forma for my PowerPoint. I would love for it to literally plonk all the information in. I've tried a couple of times and it hasn't really worked out. That's why it would still take me like half an hour to format and all the rest of it, but that's fine. 5 hours to half an hour, can't complain too much. In terms of something new that I would like to try, I would like to try AI videos. Especially because I said previously, I did those YouTube videos of me doing science experiments and then posting it for my students. I think it was a private YouTube link. And I still use them today, and they're amazing. Students watch them in 5 minutes and go, hey, I can do this experiment and don't have to ask me a zillion questions because they can't visualize what the experiment's going to look like. But those YouTube videos still took me hours upon hours to film, edit. Obviously, this was all pre-AI anyway. So it would be cool to be able to make some, I like the idea of deep fakes. I think I'm seeing more positive things about deep fakes recently. Real life example I literally saw yesterday. My friend, her mum died, and she posted up a photo of her mum and what would be her grandchild now in a Polaroid image as a deep fake. And she was just like, it's wild what AI can do. I was just like, that's a real positive thing. Yeah, I would definitely like to try something like that. Yeah, I'm always going to be excited by new tech or new models.
Have you tried Sora on ChatGPT? Obviously, you get access to it. I tried it with that. I thought, I could do some medieval scenes, and because I was playing at the same time with Gemini. So Gemini, I was looking at doing around positive reinforcement or attitudes, and I made this video where it was generating videos of students responding to teachers in a way, or how to respond if something goes wrong. And they actually did it pretty well. I think it was a maximum of 8 seconds of video. I wrote the script and everything, I put in and generated the video. It wasn't too bad. I haven't put it into use yet. But then I thought, I saw it. Okay, I've got access to that. It's free. I'll do a medieval scene. And it was nice and short. I said, I want to do a trebuchet shooting a flaming at the castle wall. And during a siege, I thought nice and simple. So I put it in. It looked absolutely fantastic. It looked cinematic. Knights in the trebuchet shot it, and then the thing was spinning like doing corkscrews, just the right spinning in the air, never actually hitting the wall. Tried that for a few times. It didn't work. I thought, okay, I'll do something a bit simpler. I'll get knights putting a battering ram into a wall. And essentially I told it to hit the wall and then step back a bit and then charge again into the wall with the battering ram. And what it produced was knights. It had the battering ram there. The actual ram itself was sticking at the left-hand side, not towards the gate, standing sideways. And the guys were actually pulling the battering ram away from the gate. So it was like starting at the gate, and then there was dragging it backwards away while having their backs to the walls. And they looked really good, but yeah, I haven't played with it again since then. My kids thought it was pretty funny when I showed it to them. But like I said, it's, once again, that skill I haven't really gone into is developing a prompt that can actually write a good video. And you see them all the time on Facebook and you see all the, I don't know if you see it, they've got all the videos of the rednecks, Star Trek ones. Have you seen those? They look really good if you've got the time and effort to put it into it. And obviously maybe pay for a more expensive version. But I find Google has really gone down that direction with their Vero 3, whereas OpenAI haven't gone actually into that yet. But then if you look at the data, 80% of people use ChatGPT, actually paid versions.
That's what we need a PD in.
Yes.
Prompt writing.
I do. Yeah, that's what I do, prompt writing.
Yeah, prompt writing. And then we can get to specific prompts like writing prompts for videos. Get in an expert. Teach me.
Yes. Have you looked at, is there a particular model you use? We didn't obviously talk about that earlier.
It's just a vision that I have when I have time. As I said before, very busy person. I'm only doing what I need to, not necessarily.
Have you found the ability to respond to the prompt has improved as the models have improved over time?
Oh,
the
yeah.
engines?
Yeah, definitely. I'm finding the latest model, so 5, far superior. I just can't believe what a difference a year can make, because I've been recently on maternity leave. The models are like night and day of what it's producing.
You still can't do PowerPoints. And I always suggest, I've looked at doing that. It'd be great if you got a PowerPoint. You do if you're looking at a complex layout.
I've tried multiple times.
The only way I can think you do it is you'd have to do it in something like Canva. And you'd have to produce it and put it in a CSV file. And you have to do a bulk import I guess for people used to it in the old mail merge. So you'd take a long time to set up. You have to set your template up really well. And then you'd have to have a particular model, how you developed your CSV import model, so they actually all go in the right spots.
I'm going to be lazy here and say, I'm going to wait for a future model to do that for me.
Okay. Before we wrap up, any final thoughts, I guess warnings, encouragement for teachers about their AI journey?
I don't think we should fear AI in teaching. I honestly think it's given me the best work-life balance, but not just that balance, to ultimately be the teacher that I actually want to be as well. And I honestly don't think I could be the teacher that I wanted to be unless I was married to my job and without kids. That's what I used to think. But now I'm actually seeing it as actual reality for me. Yeah, so it's definitely not a free pass. It does require problem solving, does require critical thinking. And I do think you need to correct AI so that it does learn from it as well. Oh, and I did want to say that I find it interesting that a lot of people will say teamwork makes the dream work and that more brains are better than one. But then we get people that don't want to use this awesome learning machine, which is literally like putting the whole globe's population brains together, not just people that currently are alive, but people in the past as well. People don't want to use it. It just perplexes me.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think it is. But like I said, it's new. In terms of technology, it's only a couple of years old. And I guess the early point was all fear about plagiarism in the beginning. I guess it takes time for teachers and institutions, education, to learn how to work with this technology effectively, I think. And that will take more time because in our case, it's got to go through lots of bureaucracy in terms of how we do that. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me, Kate.
Yes. I always say I would like to thank Kayla for coming in, and definitely any other teachers who want to come and talk about their journey, even as a complete beginner or someone who's fairly experienced, definitely come on, share your story. And it's the most useful thing for other teachers. And as we find in our departments, it's through osmosis. One teacher just showing another one a tool or trick, and that's how we tend to spread our knowledge more than actual through formal PD. If you like this, definitely get a like and subscribe. Share it with your colleagues interested in AI. And until then, keep up the good work, and I'll talk to you next time.